Welcome to Taurus TV. I'm Kezia Dawn. Thanks for joining me. What would you give to live an extra 10 years? How about an extra 20 years? Can you imagine living up to 150 years old? Well, it's not necessarily fiction or a plot for a feel-good movie. New research reveals that we have not maxed out our potential yet. The extra years we have added in longevity this past 50 years could see humans living up to that 150-year-old milestone. My guest today has a profound professional background in law and finance and is a director of the very successful Kaz Group of companies in Sydney. But his passion is longevity. Welcome, Kazacos.
Thank you very much.
Now,
to be here.
You too. Now, this whole idea has really caught me by surprise. Do you really think people can live to 150 years?
Well, I think with advancements in technology, anything's possible. I think things that we were thinking, in the past that are impossible are now possible. So I do think a number's all relative, and I think if we can live in the very best health, it's probably more important than achieving a specific goal number. And a lot of people do say, I couldn't imagine living to 100 because I have this ache, I have this pain. And we hear people say that a lot. And I think that's a little bit sad because I think there are things that we can do and slight modifications to routines or better behaviours that will extend our lifespan, but also give us healthy aging, better health as we age.
And you come from a heavy background of business, so how does a corporate man like yourself come to believing and understanding this idea of longevity?
I think when you succeed in a craft, whether that be anything and you've got some fruits from that labour, you just take measure and say, look, I want to enjoy this for as long as possible. And I think a lot of people, as they are successful and they do well, they say, well, how can I remain, people have different beliefs about religion or whatever it is. How can I remain on this earthly plane as long as possible and enjoy it as long as possible? And I think that, for me, from when I was quite young, I always thought, I want to be around a long time. I want to have good wealth, but I also want to be very happy and healthy. And that's what it was for me. It was just about enjoying life as long as possible. Not in too much excess, but having a good things and good relationships, but then having good health as well.
Going on from that, what would you observe about business people or corporates that you run into in your day-to-day life, and what are they lacking?
Look, I think current trends are that people are expected to work very hard, right? So there's the whole notion of, well, I didn't get much sleep and I'm running on adrenaline and I didn't have, very good breakfast, or there's these kind of social things that we're expected to meet in our life. And I think people think they're succeeding when they're working incredibly hard. They're compromising perhaps their health, their fitness. And I think that's a little bit of a fallacy, because I think whilst people must in certain respects do that, and they must kind of work hard when the situation dictates it, I think there's opportunity to employ a couple of little strategies along the way to maybe make it a little bit easier and potentially get a little bit more out of their life than just working hard and working fast. And compromising their health in the process, because that brings us to the topic of stress, and people being stressed.
Well, we've got this huge topic of burnout. There's a lot of talk about burnout in the corporate world at the moment. So what are some of these strategies that you were just mentioning? Do you have secrets that executives and corporates out there can take on?
Yeah, I do have some secrets, and I'm not a medical practitioner, so not a doctor. This is not health advice. However, there's some big ages, we'll say, right? So big causes of aging. So aging is a cellular decline as we grow older, and there's various triggers for that. So one, you could talk about oxidative stress. People talk about free radicals, and that impairs cellular function, which causes aging, which causes slow decline to eventual death. So, and that's not a pretty word, but that's what happens. So how do we stop this process or mitigate or reverse this process of cellular aging? So people talk about antioxidants, you know. A lot of people know vitamin C. That's a great antioxidant. You know, that's something that people put into their routine. And vitamin C is great for our skin because it gives us, it's a building block to collagen. And without adequate vitamin C, we don't have the collagen. But then there are these other things, little secrets that I like to employ. We don't want those oxidants. So what are we going to do? We can take polyphenols. So people know red wine's meant to be good for us. It's not really. The polyphenol in the red wine, which is resveratrol, so that's what's in there in a slight amount, is what is really, really good at giving us this anti-aging, antioxidant effect in the body, which is effectively doing the job of lowering that oxidative stress. And that's one. You know, there's glutathione. Glutathione is a supplement which I like to take, which is a master antioxidant, which does a similar job to resveratrol, but is also good. You know, and these are supplements that I'm taking. But if people don't want to take supplements, polyphenols, resveratrol being one, and abundant in coloured food. So when we see something that's really brightly coloured food, like you know, various types of berries, you know, purple carrots, stuff like this, they're packed with polyphenols, and these polyphenols are actually mopping up these free radicals in our body. And when I say free radical, they're literally missing an electron there, so they are robbing our cellular function. You know, people also don't realise that our body's somewhat not our body. We're packed with other bacteria, which we call mitochondria. Mitochondria in the cell function, but mitochondria also in our gut health. And we need to feed these things the right tools to make us function correctly. So if we're not looking after them, they're not looking after us, and we get ill health or we decline in our function. One of the ways that, you know, we can do this is with a bit of diet modification. Unfortunately, with a fast-paced diet, and we all want the fast food, the fast fix, a lot of things are fried. Now, fried food, for me as someone that wants to live a very long time, is something that I don't have ever. So the fried food, unfortunately, from that fried food, there's something called trans fats. They're the worst fats. So back in the day, everyone used to be worried about saturated fats. The science has now shifted a little bit from saturated fats to more the trans fats. In that fried food, it brings a bit of a Frankenstein effect into our cells and causes dysfunction. It causes downregulation of our mitochondria as well, which unfortunately ages us. So a lot of biohackers will actually say, look, instead of eating a chip, and this is how serious they are, I'm not this serious, but instead of eating a chip, how about have a glass of rum and a cigar? So that's quite extreme. I don't ascribe to that, because I think if you feel good about something, like even if it's chocolate, if you have something, an indulgence you like, you can do it measured, as long as it gives you a bit of happiness and you're willing to enjoy it in that respect, but not overindulge. I think that's something interesting. But I could go on all day, actually. If you want me to continue going on,
I find this incredibly fascinating, because I actually really enjoy looking into the relationship between your digestive system and stress, and how it directly comes out. Now, Sharon, you don't look like you ever eat fried food. You're gorgeous. But what have you learnt from Con through your time? I mean, you've known him for decades.
Well, Con doesn't do anything by halves. So whatever he's gone out to do in life, he's done in a full way. He went to law and created a whole company around that. He went into sustainability and built Sussex Street's largest award-winning environmental building. So when he tells me he's looking at health and longevity, I'm going to believe him.
Thanks, Jen. Appreciate that.
I'm believing everything you say as well, because this is incredible. So can you explain a bit more the whole concept of what you believe of longevity and especially, as we mentioned earlier in the interview, that goal of living to 150 years?
Yeah, there's a couple of key tenements. A couple of things that I do, stratagems, is it revolves around diet. So diet's a key component. Now, it's just by what we ingest from our food or whether it's via supplementation. There's sleep, which is one of the very, very important things that we can do. Last time I was on show, and I did mention the importance of sleep, and it's a free thing that we can all do and get massive benefits. It's anti-inflammatory. It really does reset the system. So if you have poor quality sleep, it's something that's going to impact your performance, and it's going to impact your ability to age healthily. I track my sleep, so a lot of stuff I wear, like this is a ring I've got nothing to do with this company, but it tracks your sleep at night. So
I've actually heard of this ring before. I'm pretty sure I've seen this in an ad before, but yes, continue.
Yeah, so one of the things is we can say, I slept for 8 hours, therefore, great, I'm rested. But what you find is sleep's not always sleep. So there's different types of sleep. There's REM sleep, there's light sleep, there's deep sleep. And before I started tracking my sleep, I said, I'll get 8 hours, it's all good. And then I looked into the numbers and said, I got 8 hours, but I didn't get much deep sleep. And when I mean much, maybe it was half an hour of deep sleep. Now, by putting in certain strategies, we tried to bump that deep sleep up to an hour and a half, always trying to get better and better. And there's a couple of hacks you can do along the way with this. And one of the most effective hacks is another technology, which is, I'll show you guys, which is what's called a Apollo Neuro, right? Which looks like an ankle bracelet, so it looks like, something. You can also wear it on the wrist if you don't want to.
I was looking there and wondering what you had.
So it's actually a device that was developed by neuroscientists and scientists to help in a veritable array of situations, not just with sleep, but with social situations as well, stress and different things. But with sleep, it's been clinically proven to get you into that deep, restful sleep, that deep sleep, quite effectively and quite quickly. So it works on a series of vibrations. It feels like a little hug. Like right now, I've got it on the social and open mode. So I'm here, I'm social, I'm with you guys, I'm open. So these little vibrations in the sleep format put me straight to bed straight away. Like within 5 minutes, I'm there. I'm in dreamland. And whenever I get woken up by my 3 lovely dogs, because they have to go to the toilet, and I'll get up and I take them to the toilet, I put it back on, back to sleep. So I found that by doing this and tracking the sleep quality, I was able to get more deep sleep, better restorative sleep. That's the sleep that really restores you, and quite effectively. So that's one tenement, sleep, great quality sleep. Nutrition, very important. I mentioned no fried foods, but there's also other things that create inflammation. Sugar is one of them. Now, sugar, I'm not anti-sugar, and I'm definitely not pro fake sugars. I think they're not good. They have a similar effect, unfortunately, in the body from a point of view of insulin. So what makes people fat is, unfortunately, insulin. And when we have sugar, our insulin goes up, and that's to deal with that spike of glucose and to say, I'm going to put that into the fat cells. So the best strategy is not to get these big spikes of insulin, which then tell our body, hey, I'm going to take this glucose and I'm going to store it as fat. There's a couple of ways to do that, which aren't just avoiding sugar. It's to make sure that we have a whole food. So if we have sugar teamed with a fiber, that works almost as a bit of a cancelization. The fiber makes it low in glycemic. So when our body takes it, it's not storing it rapidly as fat. And now people can learn what triggers them in real time in terms of, I'm having something, particular snack. How is this going to affect my blood sugar? Well, if you've ever seen the diabetics, they wear those continuous blood glucose monitors. And they're not just for diabetics, they're actually clinically proven for diabetics and for other people to lower your blood sugar. How do they do it? Well, as you're tracking things in real time, so you might have that muffin, you see this huge insulin spike, and you're like, oh, but you get a big crash. And you're like, well, hang on, maybe I'll look for a food that doesn't do that. So you can then start to investigate different types of food, different, and what effect they have on your mood, what effect they have in real time on your blood sugar. And I think that's a great hack as well. So that's something with a little bit of tech that we can use. So we're saying a little bit lower sugar. We're saying we don't want things to spike our insulin and store the fat, which is very important. When I mentioned on the fake sugars, new science is suggesting that unfortunately those fake sugars are having an effect on our insulin. So what's happening there is we're getting this insulin bump from the fake sugar. We're not getting the sugar, and then we're indulging afterwards on something that's perhaps not too good because our body's a little bit out of sorts from that, and we're having that effect. So we're snacking later, but we're not having the fake sugar because we're not getting that.
We're not getting that fulfillment, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
And coffee. I'm listening to you saying this, and I'm just thinking, how much coffee do I drink in a day, or how often do I grab something to get that little bit of a hit?
Yeah. Do you like coffee? I mean,
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a couple a day.
No, I love coffee. I think the right type of coffee, very, very beneficial. I've tried everything in my time, and I did 2 years without coffee. I think the con that was around 2 years without coffee wasn't the authentic con, and for whatever reason, I was just a bit more introverted, and it just wasn't myself. I wasn't bringing it every day. So I think the right type of clean stimulant. Now, caffeine is a stimulant, but can be used effectively to help us in our task. But coffee is not always coffee. So what some poorer quality coffees have in them, where people feel a bit jittery or they feel out of sorts, is unfortunately there's biotoxins in it. There's mold sometimes. There's toxic mold lurking in our coffee, in the beans. And if you think about, unfortunately, the process of coffee and some of the facilities the coffee is stored in, it's not stored the best way. So if you want to do something for yourself where you say, hey, I want to enjoy the coffee, but I want that clean energy, try getting a lab-tested mold-free bean. So there's Bulletproof Coffee, which is mold-free. There's a new one called Danger Coffee, which is also, it's remineralized. So they pack a lot of minerals or electrolytes, which the coffee generally takes out of our body. But then you can have the coffee experience without any jitters, without clean energy, makes you feel good. But that's not to say I've got a cafe down the road and we don't use that bean, to be honest, but still get that coffee boost. So it's not all bad, and coffee's packed with polyphenols. It's got copper in it, and copper keeps our hair black, which people don't know. So
I'm blonde.
Yeah, we're all blonde, Yeah, so, for me, it keeps the hair black, and people always ask, all my friends are greying in the whites, and they say, put a bit of extra copper, and not medical advice, but, can help.
That's so interesting. Well, Sharon, as well, you deal with so many CEOs and corporates and business people. Do you often hear the topic of longevity being mentioned?
Not often to hear longevity, but definitely to hear stress reduction and health concerns. So all that Con is talking about is about health and protecting you for as long as possible and reducing that stress, and then by that getting the longevity kick from that. So I think it would be wonderful if we all knew exactly what we needed to do to keep ourselves clean, and that anti-aging philosophy to then live longer and better each day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's strategies for stress reduction. Like, I think about what we do for our staff in a corporate sense. So we have an on-site gym, for the staff, and I'm not a big proponent of killing ourselves at the gym. I think that's actually not the way to do it, because you're wearing out the system. A little bit of training is fantastic. Too much training is not good. So, having those in the work environment, having appropriate measures for stress reduction, stress relief, I think are very, very important. Gym, 1, massage chairs, 2, having on-site amenities like we give, obviously for our staff we do free. It's not for everyone does this, but what we do free food, we do free drinks, so they don't really have to face the onslaught of going out every day and worrying about what am I going to eat, or is it going to be healthy. So we like to make sure that we've got everything that our staff need to perform their tasks with as minimal stress and as possible. The end of work facilities, which are great, stuff like that. End of trip facilities, sorry. So yeah, there's definitely some strategies, I think, and also just being open about health and just talking to people honestly as humans and saying, you know, how are you feeling? What's going on? Can I help? And I think, you know, I'm a big proponent of men's health and well, women's health, all types of health, but this, you know, conversations I have with my staff, real genuine conversations, and how can I help you and how are you feeling? And if they're not feeling good, well, obviously seek professional help straight away and try to explore that. But I try to give them a couple of tips as well. But I think that's sometimes lost. I think we all try to have a big, we project a big sense of ourselves to say, I'm perfect, everything's perfect. When we should maybe be just a little bit more authentic in our approach and say, you know, maybe I'm not feeling that good today. I didn't have a good sleep, or this occurred to me, and well, what can we do to help? Because most people react to that quite well when you say to them, hey, I'm not feeling that good. They want to render assistance. Everyone wants to be the, you know, the knight in shining armor. How can I help? What can I do? Most of the time we don't do that. We say, no, I'm all good. Everything's fine. Yeah, I'm super duper. I'm ready to do work. So it's just about that balance of sometimes it feels a little bit too proby, but it's just like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
I think it's more important in the workplace than most people probably realise, and that's ultimately it, really. But this sounds like an incredible place to work. I'd love to have a gym and people who ask me how I'm going every day and just checking in and having a healthy environment. So what can people be doing? What can, you know, somebody who has a high stress job, what can they be doing to make little changes in their life that can make their life healthier?
Yeah, look, as I mentioned, supplementation can be a quick answer. So if someone's under acute stress, right, obviously they can talk to people, talk to a professional. That's always very, very helpful. I found magnesium's fantastic. You know, we deplete our magnesium stores very, very quickly. It's a quite safe supplement for people to take, and that in and of itself, I found has had profound effects in people where it's a de-stressor. You know, that's what it's meant for. If you had a big gym session too, it's one of those things that relaxes the muscles, but also relaxes the nervous system. So that's a quick fix. But in the longer fix, go for a walk. You know, clear the head. As I said, I've been right at the, you know, I used to bodybuild a lot, and I was always in the gym, right? And I used to think, oh, I'm being so healthy because I'm look incredible. I had monster muscles, and I thought, oh, look. But then I thought, I'm putting so much stress on this system that I'm not going to be here for a very long time. I'm going to look great, and I'm going to think I'm going to be in good health for now, but we've got to think of the long game, how I'm going to be in many years' time. And I think that's where taking that little bit of more relaxed approach to exercise, doing your training, but maybe it's only 15 minutes, 20 minutes in the day. And maybe it's only some push-ups, maybe it's some sit-ups, stuff you can do at home even without the gym membership, and then going for a walk. And I think a walk is very, very beneficial. It's good for the mind. It's good to get that, you know, positivity and get the air into your lungs and feel good about yourself. So they're kind of some strategies you can do, even just at home. It doesn't really require fancy gym or anything else. I mean, you can do it by yourself or with your family, even better.
Well, what's the most important part about this? I mean, these are easy things. I don't know about you, Sharon, but it's easy to go for a walk, or it should be. It should be easy to make 20 minutes, half an hour to, walk around the park and get a little bit of movement into your body. And this is just such an incredibly fascinating conversation. I think there's so much that people can take from this and learn from this and adapt to make their lives better. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, guys.
Sharon, it's been a pleasure. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kezia Dawn.